So we've got some stunning breaking news. Jeff Passan tweeted out, breaking. Padres star Fernando Tatis Jr. violated Major League Baseball's performance-enhancing drug policy and is facing a suspension. Sources familiar with the situation told ESPN. He would go on to tweet, Fernando Tatis Jr. will be suspended for 80 games. MLB announced the suspension will cover the remainder of the season and will render him ineligible for the postseason. It will continue into the beginning of next year. On the verge of returning, he's done for the year. So yes, today we learned that Fernando Tatis Jr. was in reality Fraudnando Tatis Jr. Yes, we knew this guy was made of glass, but now it's stained glass. And when he's not recklessly falling off of motorcycles in the offseason and getting himself injured, he's taking PEDs to try to get back on the field. He doesn't play for the San Diego Padres. He plays for the Syringe Diego PED Rays, and they play in PEDco Park. And what's really sad about all of this is Fernando Tatis Jr., he is supposed to be the face of Major League Baseball for the next decade. He is the transcendent generational talent that appeals to the next generation of the game. Kids everywhere look up to Fernando Tatis Jr. from the way that he plays the game, to the bat flips, to the flair, to his style. He's Mr. Let the Kids Play. Well, it turns out he wasn't a role model. He's a roid model. And it's bad for the game that he's going to be out this long, that he's not going to be on the game's biggest stage playing alongside Manny Machado and Juan Soto. This is bad for this sport. Yes, it's a very dark day for the San Diego Padres, but baseball needs Fernando Tatis Jr., and unfortunately, he's going to be out for a significant amount of time. Now, my question is, where did this all come from? Because we know Robinson Cano, he was with the Padres for some time. Was this his positive influence on the organization? Is it like Padre-like son? Because his dad, he was linked to steroids before he essentially snitched on steroid users to keep his name out of the Mitchell report. Was Eric Hosmer behind all of this? Is this the curse of Eric Hosmer in play? Does he have a Fernando Tatis Jr. voodoo doll somewhere? Or was it just a guy that wanted to find a way to get back on the field? A frustrated young superstar that was willing to do anything and take anything to rejoin his teammates? Because I think that's what it was. And yes, you heard the story. Oh, it's something to treat a ringworm. That always happens in these situations when athletes test positive. They're like, well, what had happened was, and look, excuses are like farts. They all stink. So I don't buy it at all from Fernando Tatis Jr. And he did make a statement already. He said, I have been informed by Major League Baseball that a test sample I submitted returned a positive result for clostebol, a banned substance. It turns out that I inadvertently took a medication to treat ringworm that contained clostebol. I should have used the resources available to me in order to ensure that no banned substances were in what I took. I failed to do so. He would go on to say, I want to apologize to owner Peter Seidler, president of baseball operations AJ Preller, the entire Padres organization, my teammates, Major League Baseball, and fans everywhere for my mistake. I have no excuse for my error, and I would never do anything to cheat or disrespect this game I love. I am completely devastated. There is nowhere else in the world I would rather be than on the field competing with my teammates. I look forward to rejoining my teammates on the field in 2023. And then AJ Preller, he said in a statement, over the course of the last 6 or 7 months, I think trust has been something that we haven't really been able to have. I think we are hoping that from the offseason to now that there would be some maturity. And obviously, with the news today, it's more of a pattern and something we've got to dig a little more into. I'm sure he's very disappointed, but at the end of the day, it's one thing to say it. You have to start by showing it with your actions. So he's going to miss the entire 2022 season, and Bob Nightingale, he tweeted that he's also barred from representing the Dominican Republic in next spring's World Baseball Classic. Now, Tatis was sent to a AA rehab assignment last week. He had played in 4 minor league games and was going to rejoin the club in the next few weeks, and the Padres have 48 games left, and he'll be suspended for the first 32 games of the 2023 season. But if the Padres do make the postseason, whatever games they play in will be subtracted and count towards his suspension. So it's an absolute kick in the nuts to the San Diego Padres that are clinging on to the 3rd and final wild card spot in the National League. They're fighting off the Milwaukee Brewers, and he's still under contract for another 12 seasons after signing that massive $340 million contract, and he loses the rest of the $5 million on his salary this year. He's going to miss about 20% of next season. So, yeah, for Fernando Tatis Jr., just a massive death blow. And like I said, it's terrible for the game. But how does this impact the Dodgers? Well, you talk about this San Diego Padres team that made all these big moves at the deadline. A.J. Preller, he got Juan Soto and Josh Hader and Josh Bell and Brandon Drury. Well, there was a lot of people out there that said, hey, this team could get hot and they could make a deep run in the postseason. And look, they're still 12 games over 500 without Fernando Tatis Jr., still a very good team, but you add him into that mix and they become an even more potent lineup. You get more protection around Juan Soto, and now you got the distraction of Fernando Tatis Jr. So they could either sink or swim from this. This could motivate them to want to win without him, but the reality is that even after that infusion of talent, adding Josh Bell and Juan Soto and Brandon Drury and Josh Hader, you're still playing 500 ball after the trade deadline. So I think they were looking forward to getting Fernando Tatis Jr. back, providing that spark and getting some momentum heading into the postseason, and now that's all out of the window. Now the next big question is about their World Series window with Juan Soto, and next season, moving on, I just think that, look, this Padres organization, they do feel like they're a little cursed at this point. And look, I'm not one of those guys that's a Fernando Tatis Jr. hater. I'll tell you straight up, before this, I was a big fan of Fernando Tatis Jr. After this, I have lost respect, and I waited a few hours to make this video because I wanted to see if anything else would come out and just kind of let the dust settle and let some facts and details continue to emerge. But look, it's clear to me at this point he was trying to take some PEDs to expedite his return and accelerate his return back on the field. And look, you didn't need to do it. They weren't going to fault you if you didn't even play this season. You have Juan Soto under contract for 2.5 years, 3 postseason runs. You just didn't need to do this, Fernando Tatis Jr. And unfortunately, this decision is going to haunt you for a long time, and it's going to take a while to build back your rotation. I think if you're the Padres too, if you had any designs of signing Juan Soto long term, he's got to be thinking to himself at this point, look, this organization is a little bit of a tire fire, and I don't know if I like it here or I would even strongly consider it. So, like I said, Padres team curse. Fernando Tatis Jr., you hurt the game of baseball with your decision, but I want to know from you guys, what are your thoughts on Fernando Tatis Jr. testing positive for PEDs? Do you believe him at all? Do you think this was an innocent mistake? How will this impact the Dodgers in any way? Look, Trey Turner, I think he can go into contract negotiations this offseason and say, hey, I'm the best shortstop in all of baseball, because the other shortstop is reckless. He's injury prone. He does PEDs. I think that he's going to have a lot of leverage when he signs this new deal. So I think that's a little minor connection as well. And you guys, you were roasting him over on Twitter, and this one's from Wody Wellinger's Werner that says Pentagon, Hexagon, Octagon, and it has a Padres logo and says season gone. So people were roasting Fernando Tatis Jr., but really it is a sad day for baseball. But let me know down below. My name is DMAC. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. For all latest Dodgers news, rumors, high videos, breakdowns, and more, and pretty much baseball news too, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you want to see us post even more Dodgers and MLB content, smash that like button. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.